It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. We are brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, I've been a little salty all day, so I just pardon me.
Why have you
If I
been salty today?
anybody for today's show, I'm sorry.
Usually I'm the one that's salty. Why are you salty today?
You know what? You want the truth?
Yes, I do. I want the
Super,
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
but there's nothing funny about the truth. So I'll talk about it at the end of the show that way because I don't want to. It just sucks because I'll just say it now. So just anybody who's listening, if you can just take a minute and put the Luca family in your prayers. Jeff Luca was the head coach at Twinsburg High School, their baseball coach. He was also Tropical Storms t-ball coach when he was very little, and he was his basketball coach. And we became friends over the years. I spent time with him and his wife Jen, and he's just what a super, super guy. So good for the community, whether it's Solon or Twinsburg or any of the communities that surround there. It was really great to see that a lot of the baseball programs today, I was looking at Twitter, were sending prayers and condolences to Coach Luca, who passed away in Pennsylvania yesterday. And I just, it's just what a good guy. And just, I think it's just one of those senses of reality where you realize how important everything is in your life. And I'm just thinking about his family today. And I'm also thinking about the impression that he left on people because you just never know, Daryl. And he left an amazing impression on a lot of people. And it was, I really just enjoyed reading what people had to write on social media today about him. And it's just, my heart bleeds for, his family, and my heart bleeds for the Twinsburg Tiger family and everyone who's out there. So I know this is a podcast and I know we joke around. I know we're normally talking about the Browns, but in the back of my mind, if I don't laugh, I'm just going to start crying today because my wife and I sat down last night and, we were talking about it, and all I remember, just remember first meeting him when the Tropical Storm, who's like 6'3" now, was like, a little kid shooting baskets at one of the schools in Twinsburg, and just a fantastic guy. So anyway, I know I got to work on, and we got to keep working forward, but I just been in a weird mood all day today. And I finally got a chance to say something at the end of our show today about it. So I just, there are human things and there are real things out there in the world that are way more important than the Browns and way more important than sports and just way more important. But you do learn what people are about through sports, and that's the beauty of it. And the relationship that I had with him, which I now cherish, that I never thought I wouldn't be able to run into him at the grocery store anymore. You don't get a chance to say things and say goodbye sometimes. And so anyway, I just my thoughts and prayers are with him. And so I've been kind of weird all day today. And, we were goofing around on the show a lot today because it was just, I kept thinking, would he want me to sit around here and be depressed, or anybody that I've lost in my life that, my dad or my brother, you just got to push forward sometimes. But Daryl, thank you for giving me a minute to sit on that platform and just talk about that for a second. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And most of my sarcasm usually comes out of saltiness and bitterness and sorrow and pain and whatever. It's my coping mechanism. Sometimes life can be so serious that if you take
It's true.
you
You're
take it
100%
too
right.
seriously, and it builds up. And so that's kind of like my little defense mechanism too. Is if I always say if I didn't laugh, I'd cry, and who wants to see that? So I'd rather laugh and have a good time and make jokes and because I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, all of us, the reality of life is we all have an expiration date. We don't know when it's going to be. None of us get out of this thing alive, which is why I never always, it's hard for me to process some of the things that we have going on in society today, a lot of the hate and anger that's out there, because, we're all human beings. We're all just trying to live life and get along. And, none of us are promised tomorrow. And so you live each day for today. You do the best you can do with what you got to work with and make the most of situations. Life is difficult, more difficult for some than others. And so that's a real nice tribute to someone that meant a lot to you and your kids and your family. And the best thing you can do is just go on and keep being Andy Baskin and carrying that influence that he had on your kids, and just kind of reinforcing that influence is you go forward, or as I like to say, you pay it forward. You know,
Woody Hayes. You want one more story? I got another NFL
yeah,
story.
sure, absolutely.
So there's a lot of talk about, and I saw this on Instagram. So I was at the Massillon Hoban game on Thursday night. What a fantastic game it was, especially like defense. Massillon won their first ever state championship, 7-2.
That was actually via the tournament and not awarded by the media.
Correct. And so it was the first time, and it was a gigantic, just a gigantic burr in the back of Massillon fans. And so, there is one, there's a video out there. Have you seen the video where they score at the end of the game, towards the end with about a minute and a half left? Hoban had a chance to win the game on 4th down and 6 from probably like the 16, 20-yard line. Hoban throws a pass into the end zone, and the wide receiver has it in his hands and drops it. And I just you want to talk about feeling horrible? You feel horrible. It's like the movie Robin Williams did. Remember, Robin Williams dropped a pass, and his team did. Kurt Warner was in the movie, and they didn't win the state championship, and he wanted to go back and replay it when they were in their 40s. So it was kind of that kind of a movie moment where you're like, oh, I feel so bad. And then they show the clip, and I'm sure Spectrum didn't mean this to happen. They took a shot of a kid who was flipping off the stands from Massillon.
Ooh.
And I mean, while that bothers me, let me tell you another story that shouldn't bother you, and that not all kids are idiots or jerks. And there are kids that get it, and they totally do. I look back at this moment. I think about what a great teaching moment this is for so many kids. Milin Lennox, running back, number 28 for Massillon. Okay. Massillon gets the ball back after the drop pass, and all they have to do is take 2 knees. So they do. They take 2 knees, and the clock hits 0. And Massillon stands are going berserk, as they should have been.
Right.
The Massillon players are going berserk, as they should have been. I mean, literally floating to the middle of the field as they all settle to congratulate each other on this just humongous moment for Massillon. So at that moment, I walk out on the field to go talk to him for a post game. And as I'm walking towards him, I kind of stop for a second because he's like in the moment, right? He's looking around.
Yeah.
He's not with his team. He's standing there by himself on like the 15-yard line. He looks up at the Massillon crowd and he surveys that, and he takes a deep breath. And I'm pretty sure he took a knee at that point and just took the moment in by himself. He got up, and this is when I went to go interview him. He looked at his team at midfield, and then he turned to the right. And you know what he saw? Hoban, the team that was just absolutely miserable over the fact that they didn't win. These two teams defensively went at it for 4 quarters like warriors. Both teams did.
Yeah, it was a 7-2 final, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then when it was all said and done, he didn't go to the middle of the field to celebrate with his team. He went over to shake the hands of the kids from Hoban and hug the kids from Hoban. And then he went to go celebrate with his team. Actually, I grabbed him before he went to go talk to his team. And I walked away from the interview, and I was just like, man, is that kid full of class? You know, we need more kids like that playing sports. And it wasn't, there's just so much. I see so much high school stuff all the time. Like I'm at high school football all fall. I'm at high school hockey during the, and I'm at high school basketball. And then I do track and stuff like that. And it's just, there are moments out there that are so much bigger than sports. And that was it, man. That kid had it. He got it. He understand it. He gets it. And it was a moment I wish every athlete could see, because it showed you why sports is so impactful. So that was my other story I just want to share with you. So I know there's the story of Massillon and there's the bad story, but for every bad story, there's a good story that isn't told. And that story needs to be told. So
yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah, it was just one of those moments that it's just captured in the back of my head. Just quickly, just your thoughts on this game this week. Just what has to happen for the Browns to win?
Well, the weather forecast is not all that great.
It's horrible. Now. Yeah.
So
90% chance of rain, 20-mile-an-hour winds.
So can Kevin Stefanski resist the temptation to throw it 50 times?
You're right. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is.
Well, that's why, like with this whole, I don't know if you even want to call it the debate, the conversation about what they're going to do a quarterback, to me is just so moot. I feel like Joe Flacco is the quintessential Kevin Stefanski quarterback. He is going to drop back, and he is willing and able to throw it 50 times a game. So he is right up there with what Kevin Stefanski would love to do. Because Kevin doesn't want to, all of a sudden, Kevin don't want to run the ball. Like, he just
I don't
doesn't
know
want to run the ball.
why.
Well, they don't have Nick Chubb, and, I mean, they've had limited success running the ball. Like, the thing with running backs is you got to keep feeding them. It's like a battering ram. You keep pounding the wall till you bust through. And like Jerome Ford, Jerome Ford has shown you he can break free. And, we've seen, Kareem Hunt, that dude just like he runs like a wild man. Like, I mean, him and David Njoku are like the two angry runners on the team. Like they just run with so much passion while doing it. So come Sunday, they got to take care of the ball first and foremost. Like, they lead the league in turnovers. They got to take care of the ball. They can't be fumbling on Sunday with a wet football.
No, it's going to be interesting, though. You're right, Daryl. I mean, this weather factor could be huge, but that might be good for the Browns because that's kind of the way they play
because
the game.
Jacksonville don't want to come up and play in the cold and the rain.
No, they're used to rain. The cold, though, is a little bit different. So, All right, so we'll talk again after the game on Sunday night. Daryl, I enjoyed this podcast very much.
I did too. It was great hearing about your friend. I'm sorry to hear that he's no longer with us, and I thought the story from the Massillon-Hoban State Championship game, because you're right, that's what sports is about. Obviously fans, it's about winning and losing, and if you win, you're great. If not, everyone should be fired and all the players suck. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? I mean that is, and unfortunately, at levels that it shouldn't be seeping into, and I'm talking about, like, I realize at high school, once you get to high school, it becomes more about winning and losing, especially for the junior with the varsity sports. But I'm talking about like the little league stuff, Pee Wee ball, stuff like that, where it's like, you just want these kids to learn the game. You want them to learn to love the game. You want them to respect the game and respect their opponents, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, those are values that I don't think resonate as much as they did when I was growing up, and certainly with you. Like,
there are just too many wasted parents in the stands.
I will say this: I have seen stuff at sporting events, at youth sporting events, from both participants as well as coaches, as well as parents, that I know that if I exhibited that behavior when I was a kid, I would be on the wrong end of a one-sided conversation with a belt.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, it just,
I know.
So I thought that was a great story to share from the state championship game, that yes, that ultimately sports is about competition, but it's also about learning skills, learning how, teamwork, dealing with people. And in this case, showing respect to your opposition, and also showing compassion while, yes, you won, and, you've earned the right to celebrate, but also at the other end, you've got a sideline that is heartbroken.
Absolutely. Daryl, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It was a great show. For our producer, Meredith Kane, who rocks every week. Thank you, Meredith. It's always game day in Cleveland.